it's Noctis. Subscribe to Vincent Valentine EX Turk channel.
Hello, my arch fans of chaos. This is your keynote Vincent Valentine EX Turk, and I know I'm in my workout outfit. I'm just pretty much just got home from work, and I'm not feeling very well, so I had to get off early. So it's another thing about that. I love anxiety. It just stops you from doing things. Another thing I want to make an announcement of: I will not be doing no how to teach you how to pick up girls channel, because I'm about to say this. If you need some gaming nerd to teach you how to pick up females, then you really need to change your approach. You really need to change your approach. If you need some gamer dude to tell you how to pick up chicks, just saying. There are YouTube tutorials on that. You go look it up right there. I recommend like Player Supreme's channel, Coach Corey Wayne, and all that, and those kind of channels to pick up females. Just like I don't do a whole fitness channel, but I do include fitness in my YouTube channel program, just because fitness is a huge part and should be a huge part in your life. You don't have to give up video games to be a fitness to get into fitness. You can get into fitness too. Once you start bodybuilding and become the video game characters you want to become. But the point is, yes, it's just part of the program. It's not nothing I mainly focus on. So I just wanted to put in a little announcement, a little bit of an announcement right there and then and there. So I will not teach you how to pick up females unless it's included in my advice videos, and those are my advice videos. That's just something I do extra, just because I don't want to just restrict myself to only one particular content. That's what makes my Final Fantasy channels different than most other Final Fantasy channels, is that I include other things like real life topics and stuff like that, but it's just nothing I focus on. So if you really, really want to know how to pick up females, even if you're a nerd and you're going to Comic-Con, I recommend the Player Supreme and Coach Corey Wayne. Well, it's actually called the Real Men's Channel now, but the point I'm trying to say is I don't focus on that stuff. So please don't ask me to make a channel dedicated solely to this. The fact that you need a gaming nerd to teach you how to talk to females says a lot about your character. Probably need to re-improve your life. But without that, let's just get to the actual subject now. Those were just announcements I wanted to bring up. Just, because I put announcements on here too, so people know what's going on. Now, this is discussion, a Final Fantasy segment, more of a discussion about the new Chapter 13 patch. So, I gotta say this, and I said in my stream, I gotta give Square Enix 10 out of 10 for the Chapter 13 patch, because this is what we should have had in the beginning. What happened to Idolus? What happened to Reveiw? What set all this stuff up? It was all vague in the original game, and this explained everything. Which that's what I said, I give this patch, a 10 out of 10. Now, I think, to be quite honest, if we want to play New Game Plus, I think this should be added in there too. But I know that's not. It's only a special. Hopefully, unlike the Chocobo Carnival, this will actually stay on the game permanently. Just because I don't mind playing this over and over and over again. I can just play this over and over and over again. I'm not even kidding you. It's that entertainment, even without the episode Gladiolus. But I know once episode Gladiolus DLC, it's already available and the free version comes out, they're going to probably either scrap this or put this as part of the original game. So we know that's going to hopefully that happens, because this is a good part of the game. This is what they should have been doing all this time, instead of wasting our time and just put, this happened and this happened. It was so, I assume that Artem was the one who killed Ravis, but, it was actually Idolus. Which, another reason why I like this Chapter 13 is you got to see Idolus' true power gauge. You got to see what he's truly capable of, and not just only the transformation he makes, but what he can do. So now I know Idolus' power is very well. Which, that's pretty cool too, because people wanted to see him. You hype him up in the beginning of the game to just, scrap him out of the rest of the game. It's like, That's just no way to do it, you know. I mean, I get Arden as the main villain. Yeah, it's Arden is the one who's doing all this stuff. But he was still the emperor of the Nephilim Empire. He was still a major bad guy you had to face, you know. And come to find out, you know, the only thing they highlighted in this chapter 13, the things that they highlighted in chapter 13 was when Gladiolus and Ignis are searching for Noctis. And also when Idolus lost his insanity. Because before Idolus turned into Ferraris, he lost his insanity completely. And you do see in that scene when you look at the security cam footage in the game. But nonetheless, the gameplay is like Episode Gladiolus, so if you're into, it's still like Final Fantasy 15. You're just controlling a different kind of style of, you know. But nonetheless, this is supposed to be the preempt to Episode Gladiolus, even though this is right after Episode Gladiolus. But nonetheless, I think that's why they made this thing. I hope they keep the patch. This was a good patch, and I hope Square Enix keeps this patch, because this I could play over and over and over and never get sick of it. Like, this was that good. I could just make this a whole entire game. I'm not even kidding you. I can make this a whole entire game. Just this part of the game, period. I mean, I know I shouldn't do that, but I'm just saying, I could. You know, I could. And it's free for anyone who has Final Fantasy 15 already. As long as you update. Now, you might get rid of some of your games, but it's worth it. It's worth getting rid of games you don't play anymore, because, you know, it's worth getting rid of it's worth getting rid of games that you don't play no more, because, you know, you're gonna be playing this, guaranteed. And like I said, I know the chapter. This is when Idolus went insane. Of course, I'll be honest, it was kind of too ballsy for Reveiw to go up and to Idolus and challenge his authority, saying that Noctis is the true king and he's not. I know that Reveiw changed his mind. Now he's on the good guy's side, and recognizes Noctis as his king. But you probably should have acted loyal. Reveiw should have probably acted a little bit more loyal for 5 more minutes, because at this point, Idolus loses his sanity. Like you know the smart diplomatic leader in Kingsley? He's no longer there. That's what that black stuff around him is. It's 4 hours taking over. So pissing Idolus off is just like going up to a bodybuilder who's taking the roids and, you know, trying to hit on his girl right in front of him and tell him to suck it. It's like, not a good idea. Not a good idea. I know Reveiw is tough, but challenging Idolus like that, yeah. That's just like, again, that's like challenging a bodybuilder trying to steal his girl. Don't want to do that. I don't care how tough you think you are. Don't want to do that. The screwed up part of this episode is that was a fake Noctis he was trying to hand a sword to. It was actually Arden all along. That's why Arden, you know, makes it look like Noctis betrayed Reveiw, which, of course, it's Arden. Who else but Arden? No, that's the catchphrase right there. Who else but Arden? Sorry, a little Family Guy thing with Quagmire, but that's Final Fantasy 15 thing. Who else but Arden? Well, but that was some fuck shit Arden did. That was really messed up for him to do that. Of course, he could do that though, because he did turn into Prompto and make it look like Prompto fell, which I actually he actually switched himself with Prompto, which this will also go into more backstory with Arden as well, because this will explain his Orban Bright powers, because he's more than Lucius Kylan. He's an Orban Bright, and he's also the Star Scourge all in one. So Arden has a bunch of powers as utilities. I'm pretty sure what it is his mom or father is an Orban Bright member, and the other parent is a Lucius Kylan, so he's only half. Which that makes him stronger, because Orban Bright has different set of powers. Add those powers to Lucius Kylan Arbinger. That's why when you see the Arbinger weapons from Arden, they're red, they're pink, they're like pinkish red. You know, roses. I don't care. I'm colorblind. Okay, just leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm colorblind. But no, that's why they're pinkish reddish color, because it's the Orban Bright mixed blood. So pretty much Arden could shift shape for like 5 minutes into somebody, like he did with Noctis in that scene. And he can shape shift, so pretty much Noctis knocked Prompto off the train. So, you know, yes, it doesn't go into that detail, which I'm glad, because then, you know what, then we get to know a lot more. Not to mention we get to play as new characters. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love playing as Noctis. Noctis is like is pretty much my second favorite Final Fantasy protagonist besides Cloud. Like, Cloud's always gonna be my first boy. He's always gonna be my number one. But Noctis has made my second list. But I like to be able to place Ignis, Gladiolus, and Prompto. Because, and this will also show some gameplay that they're going to put in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, because in the Final Fantasy VII Remake you'll be able to switch the characters. So if you're not much of a Cloud fan, you could switch to Vincent, you could switch to Barrett, you could switch to Tifa. And I'm not saying if you're not much of a fan, I'm just saying that in general, like, if you feel like you want to play a new character, you could. And I think that's what they're trying to test in this new Final Fantasy 15 DLC. You know, the test with the current release Final Fantasy 15, which makes a lot of sense, because you gotta see if it works. If we're putting the 7 in and find out it doesn't work that way. So I'm kind of glad too. But I also like to be able to play as Gladiolus, because Gladiolus is one of my other favorite characters besides Noctis and Reveiw. You know. And for villains, my favorite villains would be Idolus, Reveiw, you know, because villain Reveiw is different than regular Reveiw, but, you know, Idolus, Reveiw, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I really don't much care for Arden, and that's because Arden just pushed my buttons so many times. Now, before I get triggered and go, like, you know, I get it, I kind of understand the backstory of Arden. Arden had a pretty rough life, but, you know, somewhat, I still think there's no excuse. I think it was kind of a pussification, just kind of like how Cypher Almazi was, but even worse. But I'm not going to say Arden's the worst character. He was actually pretty decent for a villain. In fact, he was actually just as villainous as Kefka. You know, I'd at least put him in the ranking of Sephiroth. The only thing I take points of Arden off is he's weaker, but it's explained why he's weaker than Noctis is, because, you know, Noctis gets these god powers. You know, he pretty much get, I should call it Mary Sue powers, because that's what it is. You get Mary Sue main character powers. Yeah, because every main character in a video game and anime has Mary Sue powers, like, oh, you defeated me and I'm gonna transform, they get outclassed. No, but it's true. Final Fantasy is guilty of making the main character strong. I mean, even Cloud, at the end of Sephiroth's the battle with Sephiroth, he was 10 times stronger than Sephiroth was, and Sephiroth was light years weaker in that one final battle, you know. So I think the reason why Arden lost that battle and wasn't much of an opponent is because, well, let's give Noctis Mary Sue powers, because it works every time in an anime. So the only problem I have with Final Fantasy games is that they do sometimes copy material, because that reminds me of shonen anime, because in shonen anime you beat the main character once as the main villain. You think he's down. He comes back with a new form, new badass look, new badass powers, whoops the villain, and, you know, I mean, it's the end of that, because, you know, Mary Sue powers. But nonetheless, that's explained. Now, I do, like I said, Arden was a pretty good villain. I'm not gonna discredit him for what he is, though. I think he stole too much from Idolus, because Idolus was supposed to be the main villain, and that's the way I see it. As someone who known this game to be Versus 13 before Final Fantasy 15, I think they should have kept Idolus as a villain, because Idolus, you know, was the main focus. The Niflheim Empire was under his command. He was the evil emperor you had to fight. And the fact that they switched it to Arden Lucius Caelum, you know, just because, well, he's Lucius Caelum, he's an Ormbright, and, you know, we need to make sure we need to make sure that that our story stays to Lucius Caelum. So I understand, but nonetheless, besides griping about the villain Arden, this chapter was one of the best things they ever did. And the best part is it's free. So Square Enix is really trying their hard to win their fan base back. They're really trying their hard to get people to play their Final Fantasy 15 game. They're really trying their best, which I gotta say, they're doing good. This is how you do it. This is how you make a Final Fantasy. This is what a Final Fantasy game should have, in my opinion. You know, they're going back and putting what it is.
Wow.